Amaka's heart fluttered with pure, overwhelming joy as she cradled her newborn daughter. Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled the soft, warm blanket closer around Amanda's tiny frame. The baby's cries filled the hospital room like music, each wail declaring life, hope, and a fresh beginning. Amaka pressed a soft kiss to Amanda's forehead, tears streaming freely down her cheeks. Her chest rose and fell with gratitude, and her lips trembled with whispered prayers of thanks. "She's beautiful," the nurse whispered gently, pausing by her side. Amaka nodded, unable to speak. Her soul had birthed more than a child. Amanda was her miracle. After years of waiting, of prayers unanswered and silent heartbreaks, Amanda had come like a beam of sunlight piercing through storm clouds. In her tiny fingers and gentle breath, Amaka saw the promise of a future. Her long-awaited dream had taken flesh. But her joy was short-lived. A knock on the door. A doctor entered, clipboard in hand, face grave. "Mrs. Obodo," he began softly, stepping toward her. "We need to talk." Amaka's heart skipped. She held Amanda a little closer. "The delivery was complicated," the doctor said. "There was excessive bleeding. We had to perform an emergency hysterectomy to save your life." Amaka blinked slowly, unsure she heard him right. "Hysterectomy?" "Yes," the doctor said, his voice low and compassionate. "It means your womb was removed. You won't be able to have more children." The words struck her like a thunderclap. The room suddenly felt colder, heavier. Amaka clutched Amanda tighter to her chest, as if holding her could keep the devastation from crashing in. Her womb, gone. The cradle of future life, emptied. Amanda was not just her first child. She was now her only child. Her sunshine, her jewel, her everything. A sob tore through her chest. The tears that had once been of joy now flowed from a deeper well of sorrow and loss. Still, she looked at Amanda's face, peaceful, innocent, and made a vow deep within her breaking heart. She would love this child with everything she had. She would make Amanda's life beautiful, even if it meant giving up all her own dreams. But not everyone shared her resolve. Her husband, Obodo, sat silently in the corner. His brows were furrowed, his eyes unreadable. He nodded at the doctor's words but said nothing. No comfort, no hand to hold, just silence. And in that silence, Amaka began to sense that something else was about to break. Something unspoken hovered between her and Obodo, like a shadow that refused to lift. Days turned into weeks, while Amaka poured herself into motherhood, learning Amanda's cries, waking for midnight feeds, singing lullabies under the stars. Obodo withdrew further. He became a ghost of the man she had married. Most nights, he sat alone outside, eyes fixed on the sky, as though searching for answers in the constellations. "I can't have just one child," he muttered to himself one night, unaware that Amaka stood nearby, listening. "A man without a son is incomplete. What will people say?" His words sliced through her heart like a blade. Amaka had noticed the change. She had asked him, gently, hopefully, but he only smiled, eyes tired and far away. "I'm just tired, that's all," he lied. But the truth had deeper roots, roots that stretched beyond her womb and into secrets she never imagined. One breezy afternoon, the sun casting golden light across their compound, Amaka was dancing barefoot with Amanda nestled in her arms. Laughter bubbled from her lips as Amanda giggled in delight. It was a moment of pure joy, until a knock at the gate interrupted it. Still smiling, Amaka opened the door. Standing before her was a woman she didn't recognize, flanked by two boys who looked startlingly familiar. "Yes?" Amaka asked, puzzled but polite. "I'm Obodo's wife," the woman said boldly, her chin lifted. "And these are our sons." Amaka blinked. "You must be mistaken." "No mistake," the woman cut in. "I thought he told you." Behind her, Obodo emerged, drawn by the noise. His eyes didn't flicker. His face was unreadable, his shoulders squared. Is it true? Amaka's voice trembled, clinging to the last threads of hope. Yes, Obodo said simply. This is my second wife. These are my sons. The world crumbled beneath Amaka's feet. Betrayal roared in her ears. She ran to the village elders, heart heavy with grief, pleading for justice. But they waved her away without sympathy. A man can take more than one wife, they said with a shrug, especially if the first can't bear more children. Obodo divorced her coldly, without remorse. The community whispered, judged, and watched her fall, but no one offered a hand to help. And so, Amaka was cast aside, betrayed, shamed, and left to raise Amanda alone. Life became brutal. Each day began before dawn, with Amaka dragging her aching body from a thin mat to face the harsh world outside. She worked under the scorching sun on farmlands that tore at her hands, leaving blisters and calluses as permanent reminders of her sacrifice. When there was no farm work, she fetched water for neighbors, swept their compounds, or washed piles of clothes until her fingers cracked and bled. The pay was little, sometimes just enough for a handful of Gary. She often went to bed hungry, her stomach growling through the night, but Amanda always ate. That was her only reward. The smile of her daughter, the light in Amanda's eyes, and the fragile but stubborn dream of a better future. When Amanda finished secondary school and received admission into a university in Port Harcourt, Amaka's heart swelled with equal parts pride and dread. It was a moment she had prayed for, cried for, toiled endlessly to reach. But the burden grew heavier. Don't send her, some neighbors warned. You can't afford it. Amaka shook her head firmly. She is my future. She must go. With steely resolve, she sold the few things she had left, her wrappers, her cooking pots, even a cherished necklace from her mother. Every naira was scraped together. Her love was relentless, her determination unbreakable. But as Amanda entered the world of university life, something changed. She grew distant, different. Amanda began to feel ashamed of her roots, of her mother's cracked hands and faded clothes, of the poverty she had left behind. Among her university peers, she crafted a new identity. She told them her parents lived abroad, that she came for money. She wore clothes she could barely afford, chasing appearances and approval. When her money ran low, Amanda called Amaka with false stories. "Mama, I need money for textbooks." "It's urgent," she would say. Her voice would tighten just enough to sound convincing. Amaka, even when her own belly ached with hunger, would find a way. She'd toil again, scrubbing, sweeping, starving, just to send what she could. Soon, the calls stopped. Their late-night chats shrank into curt replies. "I'm busy. Can't talk now. I'll call later." And when Amaka asked to visit, Amanda lied. "The school has strict rules about visitors," she said. And just like that, the daughters she had suffered for began to drift beyond reach. But Amaka's heart yearned. No matter how many days passed without a call, how many nights ended in silence, her love for Amanda only grew deeper. She missed her daughter's voice, her laughter, even the sound of her footsteps. The silence had become unbearable. One Sunday morning, she decided she could no longer wait. With trembling hands, she packed a small bag, some Gary, palm oil, dried fish, whatever she could spare. These were humble gifts, but they carried a mother's love. She wore her best outfit, though it was worn thin and faded with age and hardship. She tied her scarf neatly and set off for Port Harcourt with hope clutched tightly to her chest. When she arrived at the university campus, she was overwhelmed by the noise, the crowds, the foreignness of everything. Still, she pressed on, clutching Amanda's photograph. She showed it to students, stopping anyone who would listen. "Please, do you know her?" she asked, voice growing hoarse with repetition. Most shook their heads. Some barely looked at the photo. Her feet ached, and her throat was dry, but she would not stop. At last, two girls sitting under a mango tree looked closely at the photo. One gasped, "This is Amanda." "But she told us her parents live in the UK." The girls exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued. "Come with us," one of them said. As they neared the hostel, one girl ran ahead, unable to contain her amusement. She burst into Amanda's room, laughing. "There's an old woman downstairs claiming she's your mother." Amanda froze. Her heart pounded violently in her chest. She hadn't expected this, had never imagined it. But her pride, her fear, her lies, they wrapped around her like chains. She swallowed hard, composed herself, and stood. "I'll handle it," she said. She walked down the stairs slowly, her face an unreadable mask. "Amanda!" Amaka cried the moment she saw her, rushing forward with open arms. "My daughter." But Amanda took a step back, her expression cold. "Who are you?" Amaka blinked, confused. "My child, it's me, your mother." "I don't know you," Amanda said, voice sharp. "Please leave." She turned and walked away without another word. Amaka crumpled to the ground, her cries raw and haunting. A few students watched, unsure of what to do. One of the girls gently helped Amaka to her feet and escorted her to the motor park, her heart heavy with shame and pity. Back in her room, Amanda broke down. Tears streamed down her face, hot with guilt. But after a while, she wiped them away. "It's too late," she told herself. "She'll never forgive me." And so she buried her shame, pretending it was strength. Meanwhile, back home in her small hut, Amaka said nothing to anyone. She moved through the village like a shadow, her face blank, her body slow. Her neighbors noticed the silence, but no one asked questions. In the stillness of her home, Amaka sat on the bare floor, her arms wrapped tightly around her knees. Her soul felt hollow, her chest heavy with the ache of rejection. The pain she carried was not from a wound that could be bandaged. It was the silent grief of a mother whose child was still alive, but lost to the world. And quietly, each night, she wept, not for herself, but for the daughter who had turned her heart cold. In Port Harcourt, Amanda continued with her life, pretending to be fine. She wore bright smiles in public, took perfect selfies, and captioned them with motivational quotes. But deep inside, a storm brewed. She pushed memories of her mother into a locked corner of her mind, choosing instead to focus on her image, her goals, and the illusion of progress. She began dating a young man, handsome, confident, and well-connected. He provided for her financially, paid her rent, bought her gadgets, and even helped her through the remaining part of her university education. He told her he loved her, called her his queen, and promised to marry her once she graduated. In him, Amanda saw hope. He was a golden escape, the lifeline she believed would free her from the weight of her past and the chains of poverty that had followed her like a shadow. With him, she imagined a better life, one filled with comfort, travel, and admiration. But one evening, without warning, everything came crashing down. "I'm moving on," he said flatly, not meeting her eyes. "We're not meant to be. Find someone else." Amanda's world spun. She stood frozen, her mind refusing to process his words. "What do you mean?" "After everything," she asked, voice trembling. "I'm sorry," he said, shrugging. "Things change." No explanations, no compassion. Amanda was shattered. The dream she had built on his promises crumbled like dust in her hands. Her pride lay in pieces. Her heart, bruised and bleeding, screamed in silence. But life, indifferent and unyielding, moved on, just as it always did. And Amanda, though broken, had no choice but to move with it. Not long after her heartbreak, Amanda met another man. This one seemed different, gentle, respectful, thoughtful. He didn't come with flashy gifts or sweet-talking lies. Instead, he came with quiet prayers, scripture quotes, and long, meaningful conversations. He was a young pastor, admired in his community for his humility and wisdom beyond his years. Amanda was drawn to him, not just because he listened, but because he saw her, not the version she portrayed to the world, but the woman underneath the layers of pain and pretense. Their friendship blossomed slowly, blooming into affection. For the first time in a long while, Amanda began to believe again. She saw in him a kind of peace she had never known, a safe space she had longed for. After a few months, he invited her to meet his mother. Amanda was nervous but hopeful. She wore her best dress and prepared herself to make a good impression. This was more than just a visit. It was a possible step into something lasting. But the visit was a disaster. The moment they stepped into the small bungalow, the older woman's face changed. Her warm welcome faded, replaced by a cold, appraising glare. "Who is she?" the woman asked sharply, not bothering to hide her disdain. The pastor tried to explain gently, his voice steady. "Mama, this is Amanda. I told you about her." But the mother pulled him aside. Her voice was low, but Amanda caught every word. "I'm not comfortable with her," she said firmly. The pastor tried to defend Amanda, but the more he spoke, the more his mother insisted. "You're a pastor. You need someone with a clean past. This girl, something about her spirit troubles me." Within days, he ended the relationship. "I'm sorry," he said, his eyes filled with regret. "My mother doesn't approve, and I can't go against her." Amanda's heart broke again. She cried bitterly that night. Alone in her room, she clutched her pillow and let the tears fall. Just when she thought she was healing, life had cut her open again. After that, every door she knocked on seemed to close in her face. She applied for jobs across the city, banks, schools, offices, but the rejections kept coming. "You're overqualified. You don't have the right experience. We'll get back to you." But no one ever did. With each rejection, Amanda's confidence withered like a dying flower. The once vibrant girl who brimmed with dreams of rising above her roots now sat quietly in her small room, staring at her phone screen, refreshing her email inbox over and over. No responses, no callbacks, only silence. She began to question everything, her decisions, her sacrifices, even her worth. Had she made a mistake chasing a future that didn't want her? Then came a glimmer of hope. A friend forwarded her details about a promising business opportunity with a well-known company. It looked legitimate. Slick presentations, a fancy website, glowing testimonies. Amanda's heart stirred. Maybe this was her chance. Maybe life was finally offering her a break. With trembling hands and cautious hope, she used her last savings to pay for a license and registration fee. She dared to dream again. But the very next morning, the news spread like wildfire. The company had disappeared overnight. Offices locked. Phone numbers unreachable. The entire scheme had been a scam. Amanda's heart collapsed. She broke down completely. Another betrayal. Another loss. The little money she had left was gone. Just like that. Her faith in people, in herself, shattered further. Meanwhile, her friends, people who once walked the same uncertain path, were now thriving. Some had secured stable jobs. Others had relocated abroad. A few had launched successful businesses. But Amanda was stuck, sinking slowly in her own sorrow, watching as life marched forward without her. It felt as though the world was crumbling before her very eyes. One Sunday, feeling weighed down by the unshakable sense that her life was going nowhere, Amanda wandered into a new church. It wasn't planned. She had simply followed a crowd, too tired to think, too numb to care. The congregation sang with fervor, and the pastor preached passionately, but Amanda barely heard him, until suddenly his voice changed. He paused, his eyes scanning the room. "There's a young woman here," he said slowly, with a strange certainty. "Your life has been one disaster after another. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've tried everything, but nothing works." Amanda straightened in her seat, heart pounding. "It's not because you're lazy, not because you lack faith," the pastor continued. A curse follows you. A curse tied to Dishna. You dishonored your mother. You rejected her. Until she forgives you, nothing in your life will move forward. Amanda sat frozen, her breath caught in her throat. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. She knew without a doubt he was speaking to her. After the service, Amanda didn't wait to greet anyone. She ran, took the next available bus to the village, desperate to see her mother. She rehearsed apologies in her mind, tears already streaming down her face. But when she arrived, a neighbor met her at the gate, eyes filled with sorrow. "Your mother collapsed weeks ago," the woman said softly. "She's been in a coma." Amanda's legs gave way. She rushed to the hospital, frantic and breathless. Amaka lay there, so small, so still, her skin pale, her body connected to beeping machines. "Mama!" Amanda cried, falling to her knees beside the bed. She clutched her mother's hand, tears soaking the sheets. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Forgive me, please. I was foolish, proud. Please wake up. Don't leave me like this." But Amaka didn't move. Her breathing remained shallow. Hours passed. Then the beeping stopped. Amaka was gone. Amanda screamed from the depths of her soul, the sound cutting through the quiet halls like shattered glass. Nurses rushed in, but nothing could be done. Her mother had passed. The funeral was small and solemn. Few people came. Most still remembered how Amanda had treated her mother. She sat by the grave, her face blank, her spirit hollowed out. From that day forward, Amanda's life fell into deeper darkness. Rejections became routine. Doors that once creaked open slammed shut. Even strangers looked at her with inexplicable discomfort. Everything she touched failed. Each night, her dreams echoed with her mother's voice. "Amanda, I gave you everything, but you gave me shame." Regret became her constant shadow, an ache that never dulled. She would sometimes sit under a tree when the wind blew, whispering into the breeze, "Mama, I'm sorry." But the wind carried no reply. Moral: what we do today echoes far beyond the moment. It shapes our tomorrow in ways we may not foresee. The command to honor our father and mother is not merely a suggestion. It is a divine principle, a seed whose harvest we cannot avoid. Amaka gave everything for her daughter, her time, her strength, her very soul, but died with a heart fractured by rejection. Let her story be a solemn reminder. Love is not just about words, but about honor, gratitude, and action. May we never take for granted those who silently bleed for us, and may we find grace to cherish them while they yet live.
Thank you for watching. Tell us your opinion in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chukwudi Studio at Chukwudi Lawler.